From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
One ball, corner pocket.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hujavandi.
And Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. Coming up on today's show, 4 new dudes we spoke to, our takes, as well as some NIL realignment with Florida State and Rising Spear. And 10 would have been nice, but the Noles come up short on the hardwood. Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill. That's in Tallahassee, Florida. You already know that. cptallybar.com. That's the website. You know that as well. And you know that it's the best place to be if you're going to hang out in Tallahassee and watch the game, or just even hang out during the day, because they've got pool tables, they've got dart boards, they've got a Vegas wall of television screens, and they've got great daily lunch specials every single day of the week. It's only $8.99 from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and on Wednesdays, it's a pressed ham and Swiss sandwich, grilled and caramelized ham topped with melted Swiss, pressed, and toasted. Comes with your choice of a side dish: curly fries, straight fries, onion rings, potato salad, broccoli, side salad, tater tots, or freshly cooked potato chips. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, Tallahassee, Florida. cptallybar.com, 2475 Appalachie Parkway. Warchant.com, Ultimate Seminole Sports Source. Corey, thumbs up, everybody. It's only $29.99 to join the website. Premium access that'll take you from this moment, as soon as you sign up, all the way up until September 1st. As the Noles get ready for the 2023 season, we'll have you fully covered on everything football, tour of duty, spring football, baseball, softball. We'll talk basketball, too. Thumbs up, 5-star rating and review. Corey, say something. I'm tired already. How are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. Other than watching that, that was not fun. What happened at the Civic Center on Tuesday night? That was unfortunate. Not a little bit. It was pretty embarrassing. But yeah, other than that, good. Brady seems to be in good spirits. We think he made his freshman high school baseball team. There's nothing been official yet, but they are on day 11. So either it's the longest tryout in the history of freshman baseball, or he apparently made the team, but who knows, man. But either way, we're doing well up here in Georgia. Looking forward to coming back down to Tallahassee on Friday.
All right. So you'll miss out on Thursday's powwow over at the museum that
Correct.
Doesn't have artifacts.
Correct. Yes, the museum with nothing in there at all, really, except chairs. I won't be there for that one either. I think Braden Fisk speaks at that one, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Fisk.
That'll be. I wonder if we're done after that, or we still got a whole nother week. It seems like we've knocked out a lot of newcomers already, but yeah, I guess it's probably one more week because we haven't gotten a ton of freshmen. But for Tuesday, I brought this up on headlines, and I hope DeMarco. It's DeMarco Ward, right?
Correct.
The linebacker from my neck of the woods, Duluth. It's probably 15 minutes away from where I live.
Good Korean barbecue in Duluth, by the way. Really good Korean barbecue in Duluth.
Okay.
It's the first time I ever had Korean barbecue. It was fantastic. I liked it a lot.
Okay. Well, I went and saw the killer. There's the Gwinnett County put a big 10,000 seat arena in Duluth.
It's right next to a Holiday Inn that Gene's put us up in a few times. I'm like, what is this monstrosity?
So they have they used to have an AFL, an Arena 2 league. Maybe it was the Arena. Yeah, it was Arena League. It was when Arena League came back around 2002, 3. Andrew Luck's dad was the commissioner of it, and Gwinnett had a team, and I covered it. I was the beat writer. It was crazy. I flew to San Jose to watch them in a playoff game.
The great Georgia
nuts.
Force, right?
The Georgia Force, exactly right. The great, I can't remember his name. Marty Lowe, I think, was the head coach, and did not last long. But either way, that was like the first year of its existence, and they get a lot of great concerts and everything. But it was funny. I went and saw the Killers in that arena. Pre-COVID, so like 2019, February 2019, and they, I guess in their tour sites they would have like this water tower on stage, like this fake 20-foot high water tower that would have the city's name of where they were, and it said Atlanta. It's like, buddy, you're not in Atlanta. You're 25 miles from Atlanta. This is Duluth, son. Recognize. Brian McCann is from here. DeMarco Ward is from here. But anyway, I love that in his answers when he was talking about his coaches, he didn't say Coach Norvell or Coach Shannon.
Right.
My man said Mike and Randy. And I'm like, yes, sir. Either he's going to be an incredible player or he might not be here for 3 years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he has so much I was taken aback by it when I heard it the first time. But then I'm like, man, that says something about to call your position coach Randy and to call Norvell Mike. But Ira brought up a good point that all the players called Jimbo.
I think Morlock, somebody else said Mike too. It wasn't just DeMarco Ward, although DeMarco
Yeah, he
Ward,
said Mike at first and then caught himself and said Coach Norvell. And then DeMarco caught himself too. He said Mike, and then he caught himself, and I'm like, oh, he's going to say Coach. And he goes, and then he just went Mike Norvell. He said the full name instead of Coach Norvell. But I thought that was my favorite part of the interviews was because you just don't hear players refer to their position coaches by their first names, and he did with Randy a lot, and with Norvell, with Mike Norvell. So that was fun. And then I thought. Yeah, Morlock's going to be interesting, man. He's enormous, number one, and I like that he doesn't seem to be all wowed by anything. Yeah, like I know how much can you read from a 12-minute press conference in front of us, in front of media folk, but he didn't seem to be out of place. He didn't seem to be like, oh, isn't this? I'm a little kid in the big city type. He's like, I belong here. I knew I belonged here last year at Shorter. And he's going to prove it. It seems to be the attitude he has coming in. He does not seem to be overwhelmed or by the moment or anything.
Gulf South Conference is a meat grinder, bro. Delta State, you got Mississippi College in there, West Georgia, North Alabama. I mean, there's some pretty good programs in there. Some say it's the SEC of NCAA Division II. So. Right. I did catch that. I mean, and it's a good thing to see. I mean, he's showing respect, and he realizes that it will be a different level. But at the same time, he seems confident, prepared for it. So that's extremely encouraging to kind of see. When it comes to drafting, like our favorite guys of this class, I mean, again, we'll have a few more of these, I would think, Corey, because we still got to talk to Hakeem. I mean, we haven't spoke to Hakeem yet. Yeah. So we got
Goldie.
Yeah, we got Gilber Edmond, Vandrevius Jacobs, Kyle Morlock, and DeMarco Ward yesterday. And then tomorrow we'll have Braden Fisk, Keandre Jones, who came in from Auburn, Quindarius Jones out of Marine, Mississippi, and then Jaden Jones, who transferred in from a junior.
Three Joneses.
Yeah. So.
Three Joneses in a row. That's something.
But if I had to pick a favorite guy so far, I'm going to go Vandrevius Jacobs.
I liked him. Yeah. He was really impressive. Yeah.
It's my guy. Battling a cold, being a pro, though, gutting through it. But I like the fact that he admitted, like, listen, man, like I was under-recruited. I realized that's going to be a chip on my shoulder. But then he also talked about, I think I asked him, I don't know if he felt vindicated here, but basically just he committed. Him and DeMarco Ward committed in June, everybody. June of last year. This wasn't exactly like the destination place to go to if you were looking at some higher-end collegiate football programs to join. But, they went ahead and kind of put their chips in the middle with Mike Norvell in the middle of June. And he mentioned this, people were saying, like, why would you want to go there? And he's like, I just believe in what they were going to do. And to see where they're at now, he's like, it feels good. Like, I told them that we're gonna get this climb going. He's like, and we're still climbing. He's like, but we're on our way. So that really kind of struck me, man, because we maybe don't give those kids enough credit that figured out where they wanted to go really early in this process and bought in before things got really rosy with those 10 wins.
Yeah, and I also liked when he talked about the offense and his role in it, saying, he said multiple times, look, what appealed to him is that everybody eats.
Yes.
Meaning, he's not talking about the nutrition table. He's talking about like that all the receivers catch balls, all the receivers are involved, and that's a good attitude to have at a place like this because, again, not that Alabama is struggling to lure top talent, but at Alabama it's 2 or 3 dudes and that's a wrap. You might play in the fourth quarter if they're up by 35 points, but they'll have 3 guys with 55 or 60 catches, and everybody else has 4. Florida State's not quite like that. They're going to have you've got to be willing to share, so that's now we'll see. He might be awesome, and his sophomore year might be like I want 7 targets a game or 12 targets a game. But I think that's a really good attitude to have coming in, being like that, not being something you put up with, but something that actually is appealing to you. Mm-hmm. Like, I like that they use a lot of guys because, number one, it's good for him because it gets him on the field quicker. Like, you don't have to wait until you're better than Johnny Wilson or you're better than Micah Pittman or Winston Wright to get on the field. They're going to play guys early. They're going to try to get you on the field. Maybe not this year, but certainly next year, and you build from that. If he was one of the guys that had goals of like, I want 70 catches for 1,400 yards, he wouldn't come here. Maybe Hakeem Williams has those goals, but Vandrevius certainly didn't seem to, and I don't know that Hakeem would either, especially not this year. Because how could you? How could you watch this offense and think this is where playmakers go to make plays, and they get a lot of chances to make plays. But it ain't like anybody other than Johnny is getting more than 5 or 6 targets a game, and Johnny does that because he's 6'7". He was really impressive. Both of those guys are. DeMarco was too. Really, kind of all the freshmen have been, honestly. But again, that's not a surprise. That's who they. So you think today, Tuesday, Vandrevius was your favorite, or was he your number one for the first 13?
Number one, man. Number one for the first 13. I like this kid. I like him a lot.
We need to do some power. Well, we're not going to rank him one to last because nobody. But I would still. I think Roddick is still my number one. But he's almost in a different. I mean, he's 4 years out of high school, right, or 5 years out of high school. It's a different. He's been doing this a long time. He's 23 years old. So it's almost not even fair to compare him to Vandrevius. But yeah, man, Vandrevius and the Kirkland kid.
I wrote about KJ, extremely bright kid.
I wrote about him Monday. It was on the site Tuesday or Sunday for Monday. But man, I thought he was very, very bright and impressive too. They got some guys, man. We'll see what they are on the field, but man, they're impressive off it, which is something.
I guess, how much of that is like self-fulfilling prophecy, though, Core? When you talk about the fact that a guy like Vandrevius Jacobs is so many times during that interview, he's like, I just want to get my feet wet and learn the system. Meanwhile, his head coach 2-3 weeks ago or whatever it was when we spoke to him after the early signing period stuff said that he thought all 3 of these freshmen were players and ready to go day one. And I think I almost kind of like broke news to him. I'm like, hey, man, I know you want to just put your feet in the water and get acclimated, but your coach thinks that you're ready to kind of maybe come in here and be able to be part of some game plans and things like that. How much of that kind of goes into Mike Norvell recruiting the right kid that has the proper perspective, and then those kids also seem to be fine, as you said, not wanting to come in here and be like, yeah, man, I want to live up to my 4-star, my top 100 rating, and show everybody that I'm the man, So,
well, some of that is he's not a top 100 guy.
But he's really, dude. He was at that elite camp here in Tallahassee over the summer, going up against all sorts of guys that were top 100 defensive backs, holding his own. And I know you're not in pads and you're in shorts, but I mean, man, he was impressive. That's why I really think he's on point to when I think he says he's under recruited. I can't imagine there's that many more players, let alone wide receivers, that are more talented than that kid. So I'm really excited to see how he grows and develops. But sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I guess my point was that it's hard to be really entitled when you're not Hakeem Williams, right? You're not a 5-star. You're not a top 30 player in the country. It'd be weird if he did feel entitled.
Yeah, but still, though, you could be like, man, they got it wrong. I know how good I am. I deserve the ball. I deserve more, shine. But they're not that they're going to come and say that day one.
I'm really curious about the next step in this program because they will start, instead of being the 17th best recruiting class, I think maybe they just hang with the portal number 1, number 2 in the portal and stay in the 15s in recruiting. But if they get to the top 5 or 6 in recruiting, I am interested in those guys' mentalities because that's a different level, man. It just is. I mean, he was under-recruited. It's fine. But when Hakeem Williams had a different process than either of the other 2 receivers, really almost more than anybody else on the team. Would you say Hakeem Williams is was the most heavily recruited player on the entire Florida State roster?
Out of high school, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean that all these other guys have had to go prove it somewhere. I mean, maybe Azaria was pretty highly recruited. Akeem Dent, those were both, highly recruited guys. But I think Hakeem has you beat. So that's an interesting dynamic that has not really seeped into the Florida State program yet, and maybe it doesn't. But we're all kind of hoping it does. We're all kind of hoping we get to see what that looks like when you are bringing in 4 or 5 or 6 5-star high school kids in one class, and how how the culture reacts to that, or how they react to the culture. But I do think right now, man, I mentioned on the last show, I think they are attracting a certain type of person.
Yes.
And it's good. For the most part, it's good. Now, you maybe a tick up in talent from the high school, but we'll see, man. I have no idea how good these kids are going to be. But maybe you'd like a tick up in like the star rankings, and maybe instead of 17, like I said, you're 7th or you're 4th. But they are in the portal and in the high school ranks. It certainly appears that they are recruiting a certain type of kid, and a certain kid is interested in Florida State. So it seems to be working so far. This will be a telling year and a telling recruiting cycle. But like Jeff brought up on headlines, those guys they had for Junior Day were no joke. Like It seems like that's been raised a tick too. Like the dudes that are coming down to visit for Junior Day now.
Yeah. Speaking of Junior Day, live recruiting chat coming up at 7 o'clock tonight with Michael Langston and myself. The Renegade Express thread also up on the Tribal Council. We'll do 2 more shows for you folks. So get involved over on the thread, post your question, the Renegade Express, and shoot, if you're a business and you want your name attached to the Renegade Express, we do it twice a week now. Get at your boy. Let me know. Meanwhile, I'm going to get at Vitamin Energy, Corey. Savor a shot of energy while nourishing your body with a compound of essential vitamins with Vitamin Energy. It's less than 2 ounces. You can take it as a shot. You can put it in a water bottle, sip it on throughout the day. It is vegan and kosher certified, gluten-free, non-GMO, zero sugar. Gives you boost. And yes, man, the whole thing is it gives you a boost without a crash.
Yeah.
I can say, yep, that's true. That
is true.
That's
true.
That's true.
Yeah.
I've been taking the Vitamin Energy Immune. Now, I don't know if I'm starting to feel normal again because of this, or maybe the antibiotics and the steroid. But this is day 2 of taking the Vitamin Energy Immune, and I took it before I went to the gym. And
so your Vitamin Energy Immune comes with steroids?
Well, deer antler. It's.
Oh, okay, good. It's the clear.
Yeah, it's the clear.
Good.
Exactly. It's 260 milligrams of natural caffeine coursing through the veins, though, got me good for the gym. I did not feel any sort of crash afterwards. Able to go to sleep fine. So I'm a believer, everybody. Not that you needed me to say it again because we've been talking about it here for a few days now. But use that promo code WARCHANT, BOGO, BOGO, when you go to vitaminenergy.com and purchase anything on the website, and you will get an item of equal or lesser value for absolutely free. So, I mean, I think it works out to something like $2 and change for one of these bottles. But when you use the WARCHANT BOGO promo code, it's half of that. So it's like a little bit more than $1, and you're cruising for 7 hours of your day. So do the math. Like $1 to have 7 hours of your day better. I'm not a mathematician. Sounds pretty good, though, Corey.
And it's 7 hours of energy, not 5.
Yeah, not 5.
It's 2 whole more hours than what you guys are used to on the open market. So just throwing out that. And I had the berry. I switched from sour apple. I still went with the workout. I'm still hanging with the workout for the rest of the week. But I went with the berry instead. I think I do like the berry taste better than the sour apple. Both fine, both good. But and man, yeah, I did. I felt. I did not crash at all, and I felt a little more spry when I was going through my, rowing.
All right.
I was doing some rowing, and I felt spry. I felt like I should be in a regatta somewhere.
Use the promo code WARCHANTBOGO over at vitaminenergy.com. Give it a shot. Corey, I don't know, at what point in your relationship with Ira, or maybe just because you're an alpha of the highest order, it's never been an issue? Right. But did he just know to not edit the gems that you drop in a column? I think there's some times where you would be like, hey, watch out for this one, Ira. You better let it through. And he will. Real recognizes real. He'll let you explore the space. He knows that you're a talent. But like I have to do the content item when these guys are up there talking. I'm trying to get everything. So I put it up as quickly as I can up on the front page. Corey's transcribing it, and then later on throughout the day, Ira and Corey will write out full stories based on what these kids talk about. Our guy Gilber Edmond, Fort Pierce, stand up, native homeland of your boy here, South Carolina transfer. Got a question asked about, tell us some stuff that we don't know about you that maybe some people at home that are fans of the program of Florida State would want to hear about you. And, after kind of like trying to figure it out, he's like, yeah, there's a lot of things you guys don't know about me. Because I played a lot of sports growing up, and it's like, yeah, we figured that, Gilbert. Look at you. You're amazing, man. You're a specimen. But then he's like, yeah, I skateboard. and I play a bunch of instruments. I play piano, I play trombone. So in the story, like I do these really quick summaries, and then I push everybody to go to the website and read the full wrap-up that Corey does so studiously. And I'm like, Edmond also says that he enjoys a skateboard in his free time and can play multiple instruments. And then I put like a semicolon, and I put, he's a real Renaissance man. Ira goes in there and took it out. Hurt my feelings.
Well, right, and it should. I mean, we probably need to have a meeting as a staff about this. I would assume, just being in the news industry for a while, that like I get more. I don't know. I was going to say rope, which isn't quite.
Latitude.
I get more latitude, more runway, is because I'm writing columns. You're kind of putting up just straight news and facts. So it's different. Like what I write in a column is different than what I write in a game story, because I'm allowed to throw in an opinion. But hey, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. But I didn't realize he's from Fort Pierce, and Vandrevius is from Fort Pierce.
Correct. Yeah.
Man,
Different
all right.
schools,
My favorite travel plaza on the Turnpike, out here representing. Come on, gang. All right, that's nice. But yeah, I thought that was. You know who else skateboarded? Was Bernard James, the former great FSU center that got them helped get them the ACC title in 2012. I was doing a big story on him because he didn't grow up playing basketball at all. I don't think he started playing until he was like 17 or 18.
Sarge.
Like he grew up, he said he would watch cartoons and skateboard. And I'm like, it's 6, and then he joined the military. And so when he was in the military, I think is when he started playing and taking it seriously. Then he went to TCC or Chipola, one of the junior colleges in town, and then became an NBA draft pick and played in the league. So it's an awesome story. But yeah, he was a skateboarder too. Wonder if there's some correlation there between like maybe athleticism and dexterity and being a elite athlete. Maybe maybe I should put Brady into a skateboarding class or something.
Sarge went to TCC, by the way, stand-up
there you
Eagles.
Go. Thanks for looking it up.
Eagles. But Edmond, I thought what stood out to me the most was, and this is, I don't know if it's crazy is not the right adjective. I need to find better words in my daily, conversations with you here, Corey. But man, Florida State's kind of at a point now here at certain positions where they can point at guys and say, hey, look what we did. We developed an NFL talent. We are on the cusp of putting together another guy that's going to play on Sundays and make a name for himself. And that's what kind of stood out to me the most, is that I think he mentioned maybe on 2 or 3 different occasions, one of the biggest reasons that pulled him to Florida State, because he was in the portal for a little bit there, was the development that he saw from guys like Jermaine Johnson, who, shout out, by the way, was in Tallahassee for the Miami games.
Yeah, that's right.
This other night. And then obviously what we're seeing out of Jared Verse, and maybe to a lesser degree what we saw out of Patrick Payton this past year. So when we talk about all the different variables that are in play when it comes to recruiting, and we know that NIL maybe is the real ace in the hole for all this, and guys like John Papuchis, maybe not renowned, we thought perhaps, but building a reputation. It sounds like it's one that stood out for a guy like Gilber Edmond.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about it. Jermaine Johnson wasn't a household name, man, at all when he came to Florida State. Yeah, he played on a good Georgia team, but he wasn't a household name. He didn't start. And then he becomes a first-round pick. Jared Verse certainly wasn't a household name. I know Recruitniks knew about him because he was one of the most highly coveted defense. But he's from in the portal. But he was from Albany, and then he comes in and is almost ACC Defensive Player of the Year, first-team All-ACC, and was probably going to be a first-round pick. And he's going to be one of the preeminent defensive names in the country going into next season. And he came from Albany. And then Patrick Payton won the ACC Rookie of the Year, and he wasn't exactly a huge recruit. So when you look at that and you're in the portal, yeah, man, the development matters. It's not just let's go get players. And it's not like, Jared Verse and Jermaine Johnson didn't get better when they were at Florida State. Like they weren't, they were ready-made in the sense that they were kind of physical freaks, but they did get better when they were at Florida State. They did improve, and they want to keep improving. And I think that struck my ear too about when he said that. It's like, oh, yeah. If you're a defensive end or a quarterback, you have to look at this program right now and be like, yeah, man, they develop guys.
Offensive line as well,
Yeah, you go from – but I think offensive line, we know that more because, a kid that's a junior in high school right now doesn't remember the days of DeAndre Francois spinning around and saying, don't pick me up.
Right.
He doesn't know how bad it used to be. There haven't been like any huge name – Florida State offensive linemen. It's gotten very good, but it's not like it's been a pipeline to the NFL. When you go back-to-back years having a first-round pick at a defensive end that is your school for a year, that kind of seemingly comes out of nowhere, and then the next year another kid that comes out of nowhere and leads the ACC in tackles for loss and sacks again, and didn't even play some of the games. That I think really resonates. Like that resonates because those are big names. Dylan Gibbons, Florida State fans know him. I don't know if the rest of the country knows him. The rest of the country knows Jermaine Johnson and Jared Verse. Those are big names now. So, yeah, of course. Same with Jordan Travis. So, of course, that resonates with a guy in the portal. And, that was – because he even said, he's like, yeah, I'm used to working hard. I worked hard at South Carolina. Like, they were – those coaches are, energetic. He's like, but really it was about getting developed. He's like, that was the key factor was – it didn't even sound like other guys from South Carolina sold him on it. Like, not that they were saying don't come, but you know what I mean? It wasn't like he said that Jaheim Bell reached out, but it didn't sound like that was a big deal in his recruitment either. It was almost solely about wanting to go to a place where he knew he'd get developed.
You mentioned this a few times, Corey. You kind of really were able to, distill it down and talk about going into this off season. The season kind of maybe ended just about as well as you could possibly imagine it because you did have those close games between Florida and Oklahoma, so maybe you're not feeling yourself all that much. You haven't arrived is kind of the way you put it. And I remember asking Kyle Morlock about kind of that sentiment, and he mentioned that, he noticed all the guys that were coming back and talking about the expectations on this team this coming season, and he's well aware of it, and he mentioned that, the fact that he saw so many guys come back that could have easily left and gone to the pros really kind of has built that up. How kind of cool is it that, again, this team has not arrived, so these aren't 2014, 15, 16 recruits that are kind of hanging on to the Jameis years or the success that Jimbo had, and they're like, I want to hitch my wagon to this. I want to ride the coattails of what was done here. Because, this program has made a lot of strides, obviously, here in the last year, 18 months. But, man, they're all going to be kind of doing this together. I mean, I know Kyle Morlock played it shorter, so it's a little bit different level. But I think, there's something that everybody's going to be kind of going through this together. I think there is kind of that harmony. I don't know if that's something that you think maybe will be forged even more during off-season conditioning, but there's kind of a cool underlying current to this team right now because everybody really does seem so focused on capitalizing of what they can be right now for this upcoming season.
I think so. Again, it's something we have to see once the season starts, what the mindset is. But I certainly do trust that that there is a hunger there, and they are all in this ride together. It isn't like, again, it's awesome that they won 10 games. They finished 10th in the country in one of the polls, but it's, it was the Cheez-It Bowl was the end of the line. It wasn't a championship game. It wasn't a New Year's Six game. So they accomplished a lot from where they were, but in the grand scheme of Florida State football and what it's done over the last 4 decades, it wasn't anything of special, right? As far as when you're looking at when my grandkids are looking at the 2022 season, I'll tell them all about it, gang. I'm going to tell them about Shaheem. I'm gonna sit them down and show them on. I guess I'll have a hologram where we can relive the play right in front of us. But however we do it, it's not going to look like an incredible season. So that's what's kind of cool about it. That's what's. It's not like 2014 was such a grind. It was such a grind. Not just the Jameis stuff. It's just every week. When are they going to lose? When are they going to lose? And it was hand wringing after hand wringing. Maybe that happens this year, but you would think they're still on the climb. They're not. They haven't reached. You hope they haven't reached the mountaintop. So it's still much. It's always more fun to climb than it is to stay at the top, and it's harder to stay at the top. So hopefully they're all still in. Moving in the same direction and heading to the top. But I think that's these guys. Jaheim Bell is the most accomplished of any of the people coming into the. I would say Jaheim Bell and Hakeem Williams are the two guys that have.
Well, Charles Cypress, he's all conference guy.
Yeah, that's true, but he hasn't won a lot. I guess Jaheim Bell hasn't either. So you're right. But he was at Virginia.
I got you.
You know,
I got you.
I know what I mean. And Byers was from UTEP.
I'm that one guy that's in his car that's like, what about Ventrell Cypress? I got
no,
your
but
back.
he's the number 2 player in the portal. He has accomplished a lot, but he hasn't won a ton of games, and it was at Virginia. So all these guys are, and Morlock is the, number 6 tight end in the portal, and he's from Shorter College. He's 6'7".
Shorter University. Come on.
Shorter University. Should be Taller University with my guy. Am I right? Come on, gang. Where's the drum roll? 6'7" we're talking over here. So all these guys haven't accomplished a great deal, the newcomers. So they're being welcomed into a team that has accomplished some really cool stuff, but still 10 wins and cheese it. Not 13-0. So it's cool that there's going to be a real hunger there. There should be anyway, and there's going to be a real drive to go make a special season. So that's all.
Yeah, because Morlock. Wow, Peter Brady. Morlock.
Yeah, that was great.
Morlock talked about he also believes that he can help this team reach their goals, and that's the thing too. It's like these guys see that there's sort of gaps to be filled, there's roles to be enhanced, and they're willing to take it on. So that's just really an encouraging thing to hear so early on in their journey here at Florida State. Corey, what's more surprising here? Josh Sweat becoming quasi-household name, or our guy T-Man? The other night, Terance Mann, they were coming back from commercial break on one of these telecasts, and it's we're going to go to the court and interview a coach or a player, not Kawhi, not Paul George or Luke Kennard or I don't know whoever, but they're interviewing Terance Mann. And he's playing the Lakers the other night on TNT as well. Or the fact that Josh Sweat is emerging. This is me trying to segue us into basketball somewhat.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get to basketball in a second, but yeah, I don't think anybody's tuned in. Let's break down that travesty. It's close, man. It's funny. I wrote a story about Terance Mann for his senior day because he came in with Dwayne Bacon and Malik Beasley, and the premise of the story was, he came in as the other guy. It was Bacon and Beasley and then the other guy. And I even wrote, I think my lead was he's not going to be a first-round pick. He's not going to be an all-time leading scorer. He's not finishing with, averaging 20 points a game. He's not going to be a first-round pick. And apparently, my man CY, Charlton Young, cut out the story and gave it to T-Man and circled it. It's this guy doesn't believe in you. You still don't. And I'm no, it was a puff piece. It wasn't a puff piece. I mean, it was a good column. It was ripping at the heartstrings about what Terance Mann has meant to Florida State basketball. And all I said was he wasn't going to be a first round pick. CY kept saying that I said he wouldn't play in the NBA. So he's telling Terance Mann that I said he can't play in the NBA.
Nuance.
So when Terance Mann has a breakout year, CY's yeah, and you're the one that said, he wasn't doing it rudely, but he's you're the one that said he couldn't even play in the NBA. And I'm CY, you're wrong. And then I showed him on my phone. This is what I wrote. I said he wasn't going to be a first-round pick, and you know what, CY? He wasn't. So where are my flowers, buddy? Anyway, big win for Missouri on the road. CY and Dennis Gates got a nice win at Ole Miss on Tuesday night. But I would still say Josh Sweat, to answer your question. Again, that's weird. I brought him up on headlines. Has there ever been a player, I was trying to think about this in any sport, that did less at Florida State that became so good at the next level? I don't know that I can think of one that rivals him.
Brooks Koepka. I don't know.
No, I mean Koepka was great here. I don't know if there's something that rivals him because he did diddly poo at Florida State. And I shouldn't say that. He made plays, but he wasn't special.
I say that because I bring this up, Corey, because our guy Khalil Young was commenting on headlines on YouTube and was you guys act like Josh Sweat was a bum. Not a bum, but you guys act like he wasn't any good. And it's well, he wasn't great, though. I don't even know if you could say he was good. He was adequate, it seemed like. He was an adequate defensive end. But I know he had a severe knee injury, but coming in with the high, lofty rankings that he had, what signature play does he have? What signature game does he have in a Florida State
I think
uniform?
The Delaware State game, he had 4 sacks, something like that.
That was Kane.
Oh, that was Kane, though. That's right. I forget him confused. That's how what Josh Sweat. I thought he had a Kane-Do career. Look, he was better, and he dealt with some injuries, especially coming out of high school. But his last year, it was never anything that he certainly wasn't. He didn't jump off the field 5.
Right.
In 11 last year, like he didn't look anything like, in my opinion, like Jermaine Johnson or Jared Verse. He wasn't a difference maker. And now he's one of the best players on maybe the best team in the NFL. Like he made the Pro Bowl last year, and this year he had a better year. I think he had he had 11 or 12 sacks. He had 16 and a half tackles for loss on a great defensive line. I mean, he's legit. And he didn't. I'm willing to bet he had more sacks this year for the Eagles than he had as an entire career at Florida State. That was my point. Is he's become like a Pro Bowl type player, an All-Pro caliber type player.
Eighth highest graded defensive end on PFF in the NFL.
Out of 100, out of 64 starting defensive end, he's number 8. That's crazy. He wasn't 8th best in the ACC. Now, you can say he wasn't coached up well. I'm not going to argue with that. He wasn't unleashed. Maybe he was still worried a little bit about the injury. I think he kind of was, actually. But it's been – and look, this isn't to lament what he didn't do at Florida State
right.
as much it is to celebrate
Absolutely.
What he's doing at this level, man. He got an opportunity. He was drafted much more on potential than production, and he has made himself a very good to great NFL football player and is going to make a ton of money. And it's awesome to see. Apparently, he's a really cool guy. We barely got to talk to him. He built computers in his spare time. We didn't know that because back then we didn't get to talk to players. So we didn't know anything like that. But it's an awesome story. It's a cool story about a guy that I don't know how else to phrase it. He was a disappointment at Florida State compared to his ranking and what we thought he was going to be. But then he comes out and has this kind of NFL career. It's awesome. It's, again, not lamenting as much as celebrating a guy that really found his path and has become a fantastic player.
Yeah, I'm a Niners guy, but if the Eagles take them out, I will definitely take great joy knowing that Josh Sweat will be able to kind of carry on and make it to a Super Bowl. So that's really cool. But yeah, he was the number 34 overall prospect that year, number 1 guy out of Virginia, number 2 defensive end in the nation. Yeah. So maybe didn't play up to that level here at Florida State. But again, celebrating the fact of what he's done here. I'm trying to think. I don't even know. I think the last maybe San Francisco hasn't drafted a lot of Florida State guys. That maybe like Tank Carradine's the last, Nole that was a Niner. Otherwise, it's like Anquan.
They haven't had a lot. Yeah, Dexter Carter, William Floyd back in the heyday. But going back to the question, man, there aren't many in the conversation with Josh Sweat for guys that didn't do much at Florida State that became so good at the next level. I'm sure there are some. Terance Mann, I don't think he qualifies, though, because Terance Mann was so pivotal to all those great teams. Absolutely. He was never a great scorer here, but he did everything. He was just and it's cool. It's really cool to see a guy like that. Frankly, he never really shot, didn't care to shoot his first year or two. It was always Bacon and Beasley. Well, Beasley for the 1 year, but then Terance Mann, is probably going to have the best career out of all of them. And he stayed all 4 years. So that's really cool.
Different circumstances, but maybe a Lavernius Coles. Lavernius Coles had a pretty solid NFL career.
He did. That's a good comparison. Yeah, because he didn't do that. Now he was a starter on a national championship team until Dillard's. Yeah. But so he was a player, but yeah, he wasn't. We didn't know he was going to be that. He turned into a all-pro, I think, a receiver. And he was always the number 2 or number 3 guy at Florida State at best. He was just the guy that ran really fast. But he wasn't thought of as a future NFL star, and that's kind of what he became. Yeah.
Otherwise,
that's a good one.
Otherwise, I mean, much lesser degree, and it goes to your point that we can't think of anybody that's on that level, but Anton Smith was a guy that I remember hearing about him being in the NFL I don't even remember 2012 or 13. I'm like, what? He's in the NFL right now? And he ended up being in the league for 5-6 years, I think, with the Falcons mostly. And he was a guy that came to Florida State with huge recruiting cachet, and obviously was part of a team that wasn't all that successful, but he was never all Pro Bowl caliber kind of guy. But he was a guy that kind of came out and you're like, wow, man, look at him hanging on. But yeah, again, it's incredible.
Yeah, he was a special teams guy mostly, but would get I don't know, he'd get like 2 or 3, 4 carries a game, but he was very explosive. Let me look up. Yeah, so Sweat, he wasn't terrible, right? Like, so I just looked him up, and as a freshman, he didn't play a ton. He finished his career at Florida State with 138 tackles, 29 tackles for loss, and 14.5 sacks. So that's over a 3-year span. So he averaged 5 sacks a season and about 10 tackles for loss a season. So he wasn't a bust. And I just want to make that clear. I don't want people to think I'm calling him a bum. He wasn't a bust. There was nothing that we saw from him that portended to this. No. That all of a sudden he would be 5 years into his NFL career, one of the best players in the league. So again, I'm very excited for Josh Sweat. I probably can't root for the Eagles just because of Philadelphia and the Phillies. I just can't root for them to have anything to be happy about. But it would be. I wouldn't be upset if Josh Sweat got a Super Bowl ring.
Corey likes to make money, though, so I think if it came down, push to shove, probably taking the Eagles over on my bookie because, I mean, how is Brock Purdy and the Niners going to muster offense against Josh and the Eagles? 2.5 points, the Eagles given out over on mybookie.ag. Sign up and use a promo code WARCHANT, and your first deposit will receive an instant cash bonus, which will help you get your winnings in and out, and it's simple. All you have to do is make a wager equal to your deposit amount. And then once you win, boom, get your money back. Turn it around, do what you want. MyBookie.ag makes it easy to bet and win. You can also jump onto their live betting odds. They've got a casino. You can bet on everything. NHL, Australian Open if you want to get involved in tennis. Again, the Eagles giving up 2.5 at home. Is it still called the Link? I don't know. And then the Bengals. I mean, the Bengals right now, 1.5 point favorite going into Kansas City. I trust in Joe Burrow. I trust in Joe. There's a whole bunch of props on both these game lines as well. It's all over at mybookie.ag. Again, use that promo code WARCHANT to get an instant cash back bonus. So I'm sorry, Corey, I didn't watch the game. No. Is there anything to summarize? I think there was like 3 minutes left in the first half, and Florida State got their first offensive rebound of the night. I don't know if that was indicative or symptomatic of anything in particular, but Florida State was trying to go for 10 straight over Miami. Were unable to reach that feat, if you will. Did anything stand out to you? And again, it's a grind this basketball season, but worth mentioning when you're playing a rival.
Yeah, it was a very troubling performance. They just didn't seem to come out with any energy. Like Miami you can always say, well, the other team's making shots. They look more energetic when the ball's going through the basket. But I mean, they got out rebounded in the first half, Aslan, 22-6. They had 6 rebounds at halftime. They had 0 offensive rebounds. Miami missed 13 shots in the first half and got the rebound on 7 of them. So they rebounded more than half of their missed shots. And of those, this is the most amazing stat I've ever seen in a college basketball game. They got 7 offensive rebounds and turned those into 19 second chance points in one half. Wow. So just the math. Like they only got the ball 7 times on an offensive rebound, and they scored 19 points off of that. So that's, 5 3-pointers and 2 2s. It's incredible. I've never seen 7 offensive rebounds turn into 19 second chance points.
Efficiency.
That's very efficient. So yeah, and it was just 6 rebounds, no offensive rebounds, and trust me, they had plenty of chances to get offensive rebounds because they kept missing shots in the first half, and they don't defend. And I've said this before, but I don't know in this day and age that you can keep switching 1 through 5 and expect to not just be shot out of the gym. You just got to hope they miss. And Miami wasn't missing. Because, again, I know not everybody here is a huge basketball fan. When you switch your center, what they'll do is they'll run a screen to get, let's say Cameron Corrin, the 6'10 center, who's I think going to be a good player. They'll bring the center up to the top of the key. So Corrin has to go with him because they play man-to-man. The center sets a screen on the point guard. Florida State switches everything, meaning the point guard goes around the screen. Now all of a sudden Corrin's guarding the point guard. He's not guarding the center anymore. Your point guard is guarding the center. Corrin is now guarding the point guard. So your 6'1", lightning quick, 6'2", lightning quick point guard is now on your 6'10", not necessarily lightning footed freshman center. And so inevitably the point guard will get into the paint because he's going to go right by your 6'10 center. And when you help off to go make sure he doesn't get a layup, they're going to kick it out to the corner for a wide open three. It happens game after game after game. Pittsburgh missed a lot of their shots on Saturday. And quite frankly, I thought the best defense Florida State's played all season is when Dante Green was on the team, on the court, because he was playing center, and he moves like a real athlete. Those guards couldn't just go right by him. They can't go right by Bob Miller, but they go right by Naheem McLeod and Cameron Corn, and it just leads to a bunch of, having to catch up to a pass, to another pass, and there's going to be a wide open three. And in the ACC in 2023, you give good shooters wide open threes, they're going to make it. Miami shot. Now, they made some tough shots in the second half, but you're down 26 at home. I mean, it was a pretty embarrassing performance from a team that I thought might have been riding the ship a little bit, but it's a Jekyll and Hyde team, and so this was the Jekyll or the Hyde. I know we've done this before. Is it so Mr. Hyde is the monster, the terrible person?
Yes, because I would think a doctor is a nice guy, right?
Dr. Jekyll's the nice guy. So, yeah, this was the Hyde. The last week was the Jekyll, and you got the Hyde on Tuesday night. It's just a shame they didn't get their 10th straight win. And, just ugly all around. Our man Darren Green, who I just praised as being an elite shooter, he went 1 of 10 from 3.
Ouch. Well,
but, hey, made one. It's one more than I made. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they rebound on Saturday. That was certainly not that they should have been feeling themselves. They were 7-13. I can't imagine you're real confident with your 7-13, but, I mean, they got absolutely obliterated. That was like Tyson Spinks. And it'll be interesting to see how they respond on Saturday against as good a team. Like Clemson's as good as Miami. Again, it's at home. Will they come out and just fight, dude? Just fight. Just guard. Make sure and go rebound. Go get some second chance opportunities yourself. Go finish. It was just a lot of missed layups. It was there was nothing redeeming about it. I think McLeod had 11 points. That was cool, I guess. Other than that, there was really nothing redeeming about it at all.
Mentioned at the top of the show, as we close things down here, again, check out the Renegade Express thread. It's up over on the Tribal Council, as well as the recruiting chat we'll have with Michael Langston at 7 p.m. live on YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, Ira Schofel had a sit down with somebody who's in the NIL space. A real good in-depth interview. There'll be an accompanying written piece that'll be up on warchant.com. Subscribe, get the full insight into what's going on there in the NIL space. But on Tuesday morning, Rising Spear announced that they are now a proud partner of FSU Athletics. Corey, this NIL space obviously always in a fluid sort of motion and a state, I guess we could say. It kind of comes down to, I guess, this creates another avenue for the athletic department to kind of align their goals of getting their student athletes, competitive NIL partnerships so that everybody is kind of happy and on the same page. Now, there's some things that were clarified from the NCAA late last year in terms of what these collectives can do. Corey, again, Ira has much more on that in the story that will be upcoming here on warchant.com. But like the athletic department can't give money to Rising Spear and have Rising Spear go give contracts out to kids, but it's just kind of the existing infrastructure that Rising Spear has created, which they have somewhere close to 2,000 donors. They've inked 200 NIL deals, 10 different sports. They can kind of create this. They can have people that want to donate to certain specific sports, give it to Rising Spear, and kind of create that synergy, I guess you will. It's kind of just another wrinkle and I guess in a wormhole that none of us really know exactly where we're going, but it was something just worth mentioning because it was a news that broke down there, and hopefully will create some better opportunities for Florida State to, I guess, maybe get players in other sports more involved, because it definitely sounds like Battles End has football locked, loaded, and covered.
Keep Tania Latson. That's your job, Rising Spear, for the next 3 years. Keep Tania Latson, and give her some really good players to play with. And Matthew Cleveland,
yep.
Yeah, some guys like that. Keep some players around in the other sports, and let's get that Civic Center rocking again, Aslan. How about that? How about the Louisville game from 3 years ago? Let's get back to that.
Yeah, it's funny. Coach Wyckoff and some of the basketball players, I think Tania was actually in the video that they used to announce this kind of merger, if you will. But athletic departments can help fundraise for collectives such as an administrator appearing at events. They can also provide donor information and facilitate meetings between the collective and a booster. So, again, this is just – there's probably been some new money coming into the picture with all these collectives. Now it's trying to get them all kind of rowing in the same boat. This is all crazy, man. I think the New York Times or the Washington Post, I have the story. I've been reading. They've been doing this full kind of profile on Armando Bacot. It was on the New York Times, and it's a whole interview with Bubba Cunningham, who's the athletics director at North Carolina, and just talking about how they're worried about their other sports on campus. They know basketball's covered. We know football's covered. But when these collectives start, taking more money from entities that are not going to give it to capital projects and other sports, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how this all shakes out. But again, check out warchant.com. Ira Schofel's we'll be having a nice in-depth story on what this kind of means for Florida State and how you can kind of make all this stuff work now, because the NCAA is kind of asleep at the wheel, and you might as well take advantage while you can. All right, we got 2 more shows for you, Corey. We're going to do a mailbag. We'll break it up into 2, and we'll make it feel like it's a Friday show for you, but we'll probably record it like on a Wednesday as well. So head over, post your questions, and then Thursday there will be more interviews with newcomers. Braden Fisk, you wanted it, you got it, everybody. We'll speak to him. We'll speak to Keandre Jones, again, offensive line transfer from Auburn. Quindarius Jones, defensive back out of Meridian in Mississippi, and then JUCO transfer Jaden Jones. Jeff Cameron Show coming up 1 to 3 o'clock. Check out warchant.com for the latest on all things Florida State. For Corey, I'm Aslan. Thank you for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.